Hi, it's Eldin from the Mind Body Project. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about anxiety and depression. So there's three important things that I think need changing very, very quickly. Because I went and I realised yesterday there's so many people that are going for help with anxiety and depression, and they get 6 months of help. I don't know why it's not taken less than 6 months to deal with personally, but it's 6 months of help. Then all of a sudden they're being cut off and told you got to come back in 3 months because then we'll have to sign you back up again. It's like, what? Really? What sort of system is that? This is just stupid. And there's three things that need changing that I think will help with that. But it's going to involve a massive system change and a different approach, completely different approach though. So there's three key things. So the first thing, let's talk about this. What's the problem? The problem is the rise of anxiety and depression. There's more and more people getting diagnosed very, very quickly. So it's rising very, very quickly. Yeah, so anxiety, depression, people are going to the doctors and there's a massive issue. Yeah, so there's the amount of demand there is for help with anxiety and depression. We just can't supply the demand at the moment. Yeah, and this is only going to get worse, by the way. So you need to pay attention and actually do something yourself about it, because this is only going to get worse and worse and worse and worse, yeah, if we keep this same system up. When it comes to, if you watch advertisers, because here's another problem. If you watch advertisers, you've got people who, the brilliant adverts are the ones that tell you, listen, you are here at the minute. Yeah, you are here. If you follow these step-by-step instructions with our help, then you're going to get to here. So they tell you about the transformation that's going to happen by doing that. They're really, and it shows you someone going through the process, feeling good about it, and absolutely brilliant. When it comes to anxiety and depression, the only things I see around is like, do you feel low? We'll go to the doctor. And then what does the doctor do? The doctor just gives you a drug. And that's it, that's your life. Yeah, doctor gives you a drug, maybe sends you off to go and get some other help. But again, I've just told you what happens when you do that, is that it's either going to take a while to get on, or you do 6 months, your issues are not dealt with, you have to stop, go back to your life for 3 months, and then come back and then start all over again. So that's the system at the moment, unfortunately. And there's a problem with, because we're not ever told what to actually do in adverts. We're not told, right, do this, do this, do this, and you'll feel better. It's just, no, go to the doctor. If you feel these symptoms, go to the doctor. Start telling people what to do, please. People need to know this stuff. And the reason why they're not being told is because the people who are putting the adverts out don't really know what to do themselves. You ask them, ask a doctor. When you get stressed, what do you do? When you get anxious, what do you do? Show me what you do. Ask them that. Ask the people who you're working with how they do it themselves. If they can't tell you, I would get another person. I really would. It's just, yeah, it's bad. The problem is that at school, college, university, we're not told how to deal with stress. We're not told how to deal with anxiety. In fact, they even cause anxiety, like by putting people in front of a class in a bad state and trying to make them feel bad. Gives people public speaking anxiety. Yeah, so they're not really shown how to do it themselves. The teacher's not trained to do it. So therefore, at school, you're not really shown how to do it. Yeah, it's crazy at the minute, and it's still going on. It's still the same system. It's really, really bad. Because of the rise in the amount of people having anxiety and depression, and this is at school, this is going on through college, this is going on through university, this is going on at work, because the amount of being diagnosed, I've mentioned before, there isn't really, it's hard to get access to help very quickly, urgently. It's really difficult. And it's really difficult to get really good help that's actually gonna get you, as I said, the transformation. You start in here, here's the steps that you take, and then you're gonna come out like this. It's really hard to find anyone that does that. Yeah, without being put on a pill for the rest of your life and then told, yeah, there's something wrong with you, which I'm going to come on to in a bit. That's basically the system at the moment. And so number one thing that I think that we need to change, and it is this: stop treating just the symptoms. We need to start treating the cause. We have to start doing that. It's, what are the causes? See, the thing is, the causes are the triad of depression or the triad of anxiety. Yeah, so your physiology. Why do you think a doctor gives you a pill? Because they want to change your physiology. Because if you break that pattern, if you feel differently, then you're not going to behave the same. Yeah, if you feel differently, if you feel happy in a situation, you're going to act very differently than when you're feeling sad in a situation. Now, these pills, yes, they do it, but you have to then take a pill to feel good. Can't someone just train you how to feel good? Do people not know how to do this? What's going on? How can you not know this? Yeah, it's just physiology is the first thing. Yeah, so what are you eating? Breathing. Yeah, as your shoulders forwards or backs. People will say, I've got pressure on my shoulders, I feel loads of pressure. It's usually because of the physiology. It's where they are. Look at the body, watch them. Yeah, so you've got to understand that, like, people when they're saying things, it's actually causing, they're just describing the feeling of their body. Yeah, I feel flat. It's like down, flat. Yeah, so you've got to understand that that's what's going on. So physiology. Yeah, so food, what are you eating? Some people eat depression. Certain foods which causes systemic inflammation. Yeah, is that taught to you by the doctors? No, not taught to you at all. They taught to you about physical activity. They're starting to, but they're not enthusiastic themselves about it. It's just, yeah, I think you should do some physical activity. Sell it better than that. Come on. We need to start selling this stuff, because you're going to feel amazing when you do it. Yeah, that's how you feel good. Natural feel-good chemicals. Yeah. The other thing, just coming on to, is when it comes to, we've got to understand it's behaviour change that we're after. So this is what I didn't get when we got a theory of behaviour change. It's just, no, listen, we need the behaviour change. What the hell does that mean? Behaviour change. Yeah, teach people how to do. I don't need to know the theory of how to do it. I need to know how to change the behaviour. Just teach people how to do the behaviour. The problem is we're trying to fit in things into a scientific or evidence-based way that doesn't really do the job. In Area 51, they're going to say, look, we want this. We want this result. Go and find a way to go and get this result. But for some reason, when it comes to the general public, we're just sort of sitting there going, I've got a theory on this having an effect on this. And then if it does, then great. That's wonderful. But it's not really what we're after. We're after certain results. We're not after certain effects necessarily. We want brilliant results to get this. This is the result we want to get. Let's find a way to get this. Yeah, happy, healthy people. That's what we want. So let's find a way to do that. Let's go. The model that you want is who's happy and healthy in this country. Go and find them and find out what they're doing. That's the way that we need to do it. Not sitting there trying to fit in everything to theories. Because let me ask you something. This is the problem when you're doing things scientifically with humans. What's important to you about life? What's important to you about life? You may want to pause this and have a think about this and write some things down. What's important to you about life? Yeah, what is important? Now, those things there that you've written down or you thinking that are important to you in life, when it comes to a scientific study, are these things measured? Do you think they're sitting there being measured? Of course they're not. So we're measuring things that are not even actually that important to your life or probably anybody's life. So it's not important. It's not, they're just, so we're measuring things that are not important just because you can actually measure them. Yeah, and so, but what's the point though? If it's not important to anybody, what? Yes, you got to change there. Yes, you got to change there. Who is it important to? It's only important to those who are doing the stats. So yeah, so that's another problem we need to deal with. Number two, and this is important as well. When it comes to sitting in a session, we need to stop with the content and focus on process. What does that mean? What the hell does that mean, Aldine? Now, when it comes to, I've done things both ways. So I've sat there in a session and actually listened to client and actually listened to all the details of bad things that had happened, and so that's content. So content is basically when you're talking and describing every single thing that's happened, all the bad stuff, how you feel about it, all the problem stuff, and you're describing it and describing it, and you could be talking about it for months, weeks or months. You could be doing that. Yeah, that's content. Now, what that does is when you're speaking in loads of details like that, you are actually you're going through that process again. So in other words, you're experiencing that, you're living it again, that experience that you had. So it may have been a bad experience, it may have been something traumatic. If you're talking about that again, in a lot of detail, the likelihood is you're going to experience it again. And the more that you do this, the more that you do that, the better you become at accessing that state. So if I'm going into a traumatic state over and over and over again by going to someone and talking about it over and over and over again, I get better, I get hardwired to do that state more and more easily. Yeah? That's the problem if you're doing that, because the brain cannot detect I did an experiment where I imagined something that I've done and then something that I haven't done. Yeah. So something that and there was only a slight difference in lightness, so brightness. There's only a slight difference that I could detect, and that was it. And I changed the brightness to match the other picture, and I couldn't tell if I'd done it or not that day. I really couldn't tell. It was an incredible experience. But your brain they're so close that you talking about something over and over again, your brain can't detect if you're actually experiencing it there and then or not. So it's like you're going through it again and again and again. And that messes you up. So that's what happens in sessions at the moment. And I've even had clients say to me, do I have to talk about this again? And I'm saying, they're going, nope. You don't have to talk about it even once to me, because I don't need to do that now, because I've learned how to do things from a process point of view. So let me explain the difference between that and the content point, where you're talking a loads of words to a person. So when I'm doing this, let me give you an example. When it comes to a phobia or phobic response, I don't need to know what the phobia is, and I can still get rid of a phobia within a session. Yeah, all I need, because I know that to have a phobia, you have got a big image inside your head. Yeah, very close up, very detailed, probably colour in there, probably brightness in there, and it's in a certain location, but I still don't need to know what's in that image. I don't need to know that. That is none of my business. Yeah, I don't need to know that. And with that, it actually helps you because you don't have to actually describe this thing to me. And I don't need to know it, so it's easier for me as the practitioner as well. So that's the difference between, and the other thing is as well, because you don't need to spend years describing this image to me, I can deal with it so much quicker. I don't have to sit there and write loads of notes and go, right, okay, let me try and interpret this. Yeah, I don't need to do that. So that's the difference between content and process. At the moment, you go into a session, you have to talk detail, and then they'll try and reframe it. The other thing is as well, in that state, when you are talking content, it's very easy for the practitioner to manipulate how you think about that. Yeah, it's very easy. Now, as I've said, it's none of my business, and it's very unethical for me to start trying to change your opinion of what's going on in that event, because you are clever enough, you have the resources to work that out on your own. Yeah, you can form your own opinion about that. I'm not going to get involved with that. That's none of my business. As a practitioner, that is none of my business, and I should not be getting involved with it. But this side, when it comes to process, I do want to move that picture away. I do want to change the colour. I do want to change the brightness. I do want to make the picture really small and fly over there or this way or that way. I do want to change the sounds when you're doing internal dialogue that's making you worry. Slowing down the voices if you're speaking like that to yourself very, very quickly. I do want to influence that part, but I don't want to deal with the content. Yeah, it's unethical for me to do that. You will deal with that when you feel better. Yeah, those images inside your head, when you feel better about things, then you'll have a different opinion about it. And that needs to change now, because that's causing more harm. I'm having to spend time undoing people's work before I start doing my work now, because people are just getting hardwired to actually feel pain because of what's happened before. Once you've been through a trauma, that's it. You don't need to experience it again. This shouldn't be happening. You shouldn't be speaking about that over and over and over again. When I stand in a man trap and go, ah, I don't then go, do you know what? I'm going to go and stand in more man traps to go and get rid of the pain, do I? But that's essentially what you're doing. So it's stupid. I know, but that is essentially what's happening. So we need to stop. That's another thing. It's a big thing that we need to be changing. Let's move on. And number three. Is depression and anxiety a learned behaviour, or is it something wrong with you? At this moment in time, in the mainstream, there's something wrong with you. Now, I now know that that's not true, because I've had to play around with this stuff for 10 years and test every day. So I know that's not true. You don't know that because I'm just some person that you're listening to. But learned behaviour, is it something that you've learnt to do? And that's because depending on which of these two you think, is going to depend on how you're going to be treated or how you are going to treat others. If you think there's something wrong with you, then where do you go? Where do you go to? It's very difficult to actually help someone if you think something's wrong with them. But if they've learnt behaviour, then I can teach you other behaviours. Yeah, the brain is the best learning machine in the world. You learn things extremely quickly. Phobias are one-time learning. Yeah, you learn that, bam. A spider runs across the room, someone screams, you hear a loud noise, and your brain links it up to a spider. Bam, that's it. You've learned how to be a phobic. Straight away, a phobia of a spider. That's how quickly you can learn. So my thinking is that you've learned the behaviour. And then usually You've then rehearsed the behaviour over and over and over again, so you got very good at it. And it needs to be broken, the patterns need to be broken. But if you think something's wrong with you, where do you go from there? Where do you go? So there's a difference. So that's so those things. So let me just go through those again. So number one, start treating causes rather than just symptoms. Yes, you can do something with the symptoms for right now, but your main aim is like, how did you get there? How are you remaining there? How are you staying there? You are doing things to keep yourself there. That's what you need to be focusing on. Triad of depression, triad of anxiety. That's what you need to do. Number two, stop going into content. Stop talking about the thing and accessing that state over and over and over again. You're hardwiring it to feel bad. Yeah. Use process. So in other words, move the pictures. You don't need to know what's in the pictures. It's none of my business. Yeah. You don't need to sit there and explain your life to me. I don't need that information. I need information, but not that information. It's a lot quicker and it's going to take a lot less time than content. If you go to content, you'll drown. Yeah, there's just infinite. And third is these are learned behaviors. If you focus on that, then I can teach you other behaviors. I can teach you how to feel good. How is it that people are not teaching you to feel good? And it's because they think there's something wrong with you. They don't understand that it's a learned behavior. If it's learned behavior, I can teach you something else. So you need to be shown how to have harmony with your emotions. And it's either that or you can take pills and hope. So that's the future. But those three things, if you change those three things, you will see a massive, massive change in the way that anxiety and depression are seen and treated, and therefore people can start changing their lives around long term rather than just taking a pill and sitting on the scrap heap. So that's from me. And one of the other things as well, I was going to say, because there's a massive issue, next year I'm actually going to start teaching courses on this. So teaching people what to do. Yeah, I have courses now available for people to do online. If you want to do that right now, there's a depression course, anxiety course, phobia course, negative emotions, releasing negative emotions, eating for mental health, physical health, and also mindset for weight loss as well. So these courses are there, but I'm going to start teaching face-to-face courses to show people, demonstrate how easy this stuff can be. Yeah, you don't need to sit there and suffer. So hopefully that's helped you, and hopefully that's given you an insight of my hopes for the future when it comes to anxiety and depression. Unfortunately, the system is a system that needs to be changing, and it doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. So those with anxiety and depression need to take a different approach. I'm always here. You can come and get a hold of me, and I will be able to help with that. Doing that, you don't need to sit there and talk and describe a load of details to me. It's none of my business. Yeah, it's going to be quicker, it's going to be easier, and you're going to feel a massive transformation rather than sitting there taking a pill and sitting there and not really anything happening and dealing with those side effects. So it's up to you, but if you need any more information, just give us a shout. Email address is eldeen@mindbodyproject.co.uk, or go to the website www.mindbodyproject.co.uk for more information as well. So thank you very much for listening. I hope this has helped. Bye.